the icy wilderness of Alaska, there was a small coastal village nestled between the sea and the mountains. The inhabitants held on to their traditions and folklore, passing down stories and legends through the generations. One such tale that haunted the villagers was the legend of the Qalupalik, a malevolent creature that dwelled in the freezing waters and preyed on children who ventured too close to the shore. Late one evening, a young girl named Ellie couldn't resist the urge to explore the desolate beach. She put on her warmest clothes, grabbed a flashlight, and scribbled a quick note to her parents, telling them not to worry. Ellie knew she had to be swift and silent to avoid being caught by her parents or the watchful eyes of the neighbors. As Ellie crept out of her house, she felt a mixture of excitement and apprehension. The cold air nipped at her cheeks as she walked down the snow-covered streets, her flashlight casting eerie shadows on the surrounding houses. The village was eerily silent, and the only sound that accompanied Ellie was the crunching of snow beneath her boots. Ellie had always been fascinated by the abandoned lighthouse at the edge of the village. The villagers believed it to be haunted, a place where unfortunate souls had met their demise. On that night, however, her curiosity got the better of her. She decided to explore the old lighthouse, convinced that she could uncover its secrets and put the villagers' fears to rest. As she approached the lighthouse, the wind picked up, and the ocean waves roared, crashing against the rocky shore. The lighthouse stood tall and desolate, its weathered exterior a testament to the ravages of time. Ellie hesitated for a moment, her heart pounding in her chest. She took a deep breath, mustered all her courage, and pushed the creaking door open. Inside, the lighthouse was dark and dusty, a forgotten relic of the past. Ellie's flashlight beam revealed old, tattered books, maps, and nautical instruments that lay strewn across the floor. The air was thick with the smell of dampness and decay. As she explored the lighthouse, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. The hairs on the back of her neck stood on end, and she felt a chill run down her spine. Determined to prove herself, Ellie climbed the spiral staircase that led to the top of the lighthouse. The stairs groaned and creaked under her weight, making her heart race even faster. As she reached the top, she noticed a small window that offered a breathtaking view of the moonlit ocean. As Ellie continued her nighttime escapade, she suddenly heard a chilling melodic hum that resonated through the air. Intrigued and entranced by the haunting sound, she felt compelled to follow it. As she drew closer to the water, she caught sight of a figure hovering just above the surface, its green, scaly skin glinting in the moonlight. The Qalupalik had found its prey. As Ellie stood on the shore, the creature's hum mesmerized her, causing her to edge closer to the frigid water. Her eyes locked onto the creature, her body seemingly moving on its own accord. Just as she reached the water's edge, the Qalupalik lunged forward, wrapping its long, bony fingers around her, and placed her in a pouch attached to its body. Ellie's world went dark, and her muffled cries were drowned out by the crashing waves. The next morning, Ellie's parents, Sarah and Jack, awoke to find her missing. Panic surged through them as they searched their home, but it was evident that Ellie was gone. Desperate for answers, they turned to the village elders who, after hearing the details, believed that the Qalupalik had taken their daughter. As the news spread, the village came together to help search for Ellie. They combed the coastline and plunged into the icy waters, risking their own lives in the hope of finding her. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, but there was no trace of the little girl. Sarah and Jack were inconsolable. They couldn't eat or sleep, and they could hardly breathe under the crushing weight of their grief. The village, too, was consumed by fear, their once peaceful home now haunted by the chilling echoes of the Qalupalik's melody. One day, an old shaman from a neighboring village arrived, claiming to know the secrets of the Qalupalik. He offered to perform a ritual to release Ellie from the creature's clutches, but it came at a great cost. The shaman explained that the ritual required the sacrifice of another life, a life in exchange for Ellie's freedom. The couple was torn between their desperation to save their daughter and the horrifying thought of sacrificing another life. As they wrestled with their decision, the village was plagued by a series of misfortunes. Fishermen returned with empty nets, storms battered the coast, and whispers of the Qalupalik's haunting melody filled the air, striking fear into the hearts of the villagers. With their world crumbling around them, Sarah and Jack agreed to the shaman's terms, knowing that the consequences of their decision would haunt them forever. The shaman led the villagers to the shore where he performed the ancient ritual, calling upon the spirits to release Ellie from the Qalupalik's grasp. The shaman began chanting. The shaman's chant was an ancient incantation in the native language of the village. It was a powerful and sacred verse passed down through generations of spiritual leaders, only to be used in times of great need. The chant invoked the spirits of the sea and the ancestors of the village, beseeching their help in rescuing Ellie from the clutches of the Qalupalik. As the shaman began his chant, his voice resonated with a deep, haunting timbre that seemed to reverberate through the very air. Yasivaktuk, Piturn Girpagit and Girpagit, Qalupalik Tukuvagit, Pinarlik, Aglonir Tuk. The words seemed to echo across the shoreline, enveloping the villagers in a sense of otherworldly power. As the shaman continued his chant, his voice grew louder and more fervent, his body swaying and trembling with the energy coursing through him. Anerngerngata, Suluk Paunir Tuk, Tarnigak, Qalupalik Pikatirpagit, Elimi Tukuluk. As the shaman chanted, the sea began to churn and froth, the waves crashing violently against the shore. The sky darkened, and an eerie silence fell upon the village as the ritual reached its climax. As the shaman's chants grew louder and more fervent, the villagers watched with bated breath, their hearts pounding in anticipation. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the tumultuous waves, carrying a limp, wet body in its arms. The Qalupalik had relinquished its captive. The creature laid Ellie gently on the shore, her pale and lifeless form a stark contrast to the stormy sea behind her. The villagers gasped in horror and relief, their eyes fixed on the small girl as the Qalupalik retreated back into the depths. As Sarah and Jack rushed forward to embrace their daughter, the shaman completed the ritual. A shadowy figure materialized from the darkness, its eyes filled with sadness and acceptance. It was a young boy from the village who had been chosen as the sacrificial offering. As the boy stepped towards the sea, he glanced back at the villagers one last time before being swallowed by the icy waters, his life given in exchange for Ellie's. The storm subsided, and a somber silence enveloped the village. Ellie slowly stirred, her eyes fluttering open as her parents held her tight, their tears mingling with the salt water that clung to her skin. The villagers looked on, their faces a mix of relief, sorrow, and guilt. In the aftermath of that harrowing night, the village struggled to come to terms with the terrible price they had paid for Ellie's return. The boy's family grieved, and the once close-knit community was torn apart by the heavy burden of their decision. Ellie, now safe in her parents' arms, carried her own scars. She would never forget the Qalupalik's haunting melody, the cold embrace of its pouch, or the boy who had given his life to save hers. The legend of the Qalupalik had become more than just a chilling tale. It had become an inescapable reality, forever woven into the fabric of their lives. Years passed, and the village slowly rebuilt itself, but the memory of the Qalupalik remained. Ellie grew into a strong, resilient woman, her experience a testament to the power of love, sacrifice, and the unbreakable bond between a parent and child. The story of the Qalupalik, Ellie, and the boy who gave his life would be passed down through generations, a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurked beneath the surface and the price one must pay to confront it. When you subscribe, be sure to click the notification bell. Click here for more true scary stories.